I live in Denver. Serious question. Outside of being a Compound Media fan, should it matter to us outside of New York if the city fails? Number one, the pizza. Should it matter?
Yes, go ahead.
I would, not being an expert on this, I would think, well, shoot, if New York goes down, so will LA. I mean, you could argue LA is already kind of pretty banged up right now, but I would think, well, what is going to be like the kind of like spillover effect into other kind of big cities?
Yes, that's the problem, David. Remember, New York City is the battleground. This is the front lines. What all the stuff is tried here in New York first. We were the first and the only group to have a vaccine passport. That's us. If it works here, it's coming to your state.
Yeah.
Excelsior Pass, yes.
They were doing it in Madison Square Garden and the Yankee Stadium. And in other places, we're not picking it up, I guess, because they didn't want to lose. Right. Like if more places picked up the Excelsior Pass, we wouldn't need this key to New York bullshit.
Yep.
So what that tells me is like a lot of businesses did not want to exclude not unvaccinated customers.
I went to Yankee Stadium at that time. I took my daughter and 2 buddies of mine. No one checked anything.
Okay.
No one checked anything. No one checked.
How long ago was that?
This is probably 2 months ago. A month ago?
So it's
2
for
months
show.
ago? Yes. No one checked anything. They were like, we're happy you're here. Please spend money. And of course we did, but it's fine. But the point is, yes. They're like,
so you think they did it to scare away just for show, just to make it look like
well, if you notice, that's what de Blasio was talking about. He's like, if people don't do it, even Cuomo said it, people don't check, it doesn't matter. Because he knows that people weren't checking.
Whoa.
Yes, they weren't checking. Are you telling me you got people walking in the door and you're going to slow everyone down and see if they got their pass? You know how the lines at Yankee Stadium are already? You're going to make it even worse? You want people in.
Do you think that will happen with this, key to New York thing, that they just won't check
I have a feeling this whole thing collapses. I don't think it works. I think it
thank
fails.
God.
I think it fails.
You think it's a logistical nightmare?
That's the reason why. You got to hire more people. It's going to be tough to enforce. And then the story is going to come out. Remember, everything New York State does is always at its core a money grab, right? At its core, it's always a money grab. So once they figure out we're going to, punish you with whatever, $100 fine or $5,000 fine or whatever the fine is.
On the Metro North, the signs everywhere. We're going to give you a $50 fine if we catch you without a mask. I never wore a mask and no one ever fined me. I was thinking like, you know what? I'm ready to pay $50 today. It never happened.
Yes. No, I think that's the point, right? Eventually it becomes difficult and I think it begins to go away. My hope is that they'll realize that while COVID cases are going up, COVID deaths really aren't. So I hope they begin to get there and realize, is it worth it? My other hope is right now the states are flush with money. All the federal Biden bucks came in, right? So they all have cash. So the thing that keeps Cuomo in power is he still has the purse strings.
You mean the people like getting unemployment still, or do you mean like the federal money pouring into the city? Okay.
Yes, the federal money came into the states. States are now flush with cash right now. Relative, they've got some cash from the federal government. So they're going to have to spend it, which they will, obviously. But that runs out. When that runs out, there's got to be a tax base somewhere. New York State's budget's $212 billion. Only 20 countries and California have a larger budget. That's it. Only the G20 has a larger budget in California. Every other country in the world, New York State has a bigger budget than. Our budget is double Florida's, and they have more people than we have and no state income tax. Yeah.
Where's all this money going?
Yeah, that's a great question. Where's all the money going? Yes, that's a great question. And somehow His Majesty, King Andrew Cuomo II, oh, hail the king, he has $20 million in his account. And the best part is he said it, and so did Letitia James. All the lawsuits against him, taxpayers are paying.
What?
Because the attack is against the office of the executive, which means the office of the executive has to pay for it, which means our
these 11 women who were all sexually harassed by Cuomo all sue and all get a settlement. It's coming out of New York State taxpayer money.
If he's still governor, yep. If he's not governor, no. If he's still governor, yes.
So if they have to pay out while he's still in office, it'll come from the taxpayers. If he resigns or is impeached, and then it'll come out of what? His own pocket?
It's his, because he's not part of the office anymore. They'll
So
change
of course he would
suing.
want to stay in office as long as possible, because then he doesn't have to pay out any of the
It's
settlement
his
money.
words. He said it, and so did if you look at, I was watching what she said. She's like, it is against the office of the executive. They didn't say him. Now, will they sue him personally? They might. That's possible. But the question becomes, does he then say, yes, but I'm currently the governor? So that means it has to be against the office of the executive. That's what he has said. Unless the courts stop him, and it's possible they will, but the odds are they won't, because they want to protect themselves too, right? It's in their best interest for them to not be personally responsible, right? So odds are they won't stop him. And then what will happen? He will just have the dollars come out. Look, if a government employee does something wrong, who pays? The municipality, right? If a cop beats you up, if a fireman breaks your house, if an EMT person screws up, the city pays or the municipality pays. That's how it works. He screws up, we pay.
So it's possible that you and I could have literally paid for him to feel up a state trooper. Great.
That's correct.
Great.
Yes. 100%.
Wow.
And all I can tell you, state troopers listening, you could have voted for me, right?
Yeah.
You could have. That was an option for you.
Not going to say you deserved it, but you know, yeah.
I'm not saying you deserved it, but you deserve it. Just say it.
But what were you wearing? No, supposedly the state trooper was like not qualified per se, like hadn't necessarily put in the years, but Cuomo was like wanted to have her on his special detail because she was hot.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you're gonna grab someone's butt, make it a hot butt, is all I'm saying, right?
He
if you're
is
gonna
the
do
love gov. You know, I think we just gave Andrew Cuomo a lot of mixed signals. There was a lot of like Cuomo sexual talk going on last year. A lot of people gassing this man up, like for no good reason. And I think it went to his head, and he started feeling people up.
He's been doing it for years. People. If anybody ever watches my cool show, by the way, called The Sharpe Way, you can Google it if you want to, or check out all the cool things.
Sharpe Way.
But the only person I'm ever mean to, I mean, I'm rarely mean to anybody. Even when people yell at me and call me names, I'm rarely mean, except him. I have really hammered him hard. I've called him harsh names. I've called him a monster for years. Why? Because I knew who he was. And I told people that. The Republicans in this state was so stupid, they kept going, he's corrupt. Corrupt means nothing. Everybody's corrupt if you're in government. I didn't say he's corrupt. I said he's a bad human being. He is a monster. And you might remember the story. When I ran 2018, I'd met many local politicians as I was crossing the state. And one mayor of a town said to me, he said, this is a Democrat. He said, Larry, Cuomo's what happens when the henchman becomes the boss.
Ooh.
And I was like, wow. So I would use that with other people I met. That's what I heard. And of the dozens of people I met, literally zero said no. All either said, yeah, or someone like, yes. Yeah, like, and this is Democrats and Republicans. Democrats didn't like him either. They feared him.
Wow. And
the reason why, if you watch my, I do a radio show out of Western New York called The Free Solution on WYSL in Rochester on Tuesdays. And a lot of people would, either call in or they would, comment how they're angry at their local guy or gal who's not doing anything. And what I would say is, and this is before this happened, I would say, hey, look, guys, give them a little bit of a break. They're up against a monster. They're up against a guy who is vindictive. And I said this before the retaliation stuff.
Yeah, he retaliated against the girls that were trying to report him.
He is vindictive. He is aggressive, and he holds all the money. So what he will do is say you're a local senator, right, Chrissy? You're a local senator in Westchester, and you're anti-Cuomo. Well, all of a sudden now you need to get a road built, you need a school funded, and all of a sudden I go, you ain't getting no money. That's what he would do.
Ew.
No money. So now you promise that money to your constituents. They don't understand Cuomo said no. They go, Chrissy, you screwed us.
Yeah, you didn't do enough.
You didn't do enough. What's wrong with you, Chrissy? And he knows that, and they know that. So how can you right? There's only a
He's like
certain
a
amount of stuff you
mob
could
boss.
do.
He sounds like a mobster
Yes, that's why I said
with nipple
before.
rings. Yeah.
Well, I don't mind that part.
No,
You can
that's
do
the
that.
most charming part about him.
That's probably the best part about him. You're right. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, see, even a monster has one good thing.
Right. The monster with nipple rings.